This is Talk is Sheep, the official podcast of the Wild Sheep Society BC, brought to you by Sitka Gear. Come along as we bring conversations that matter to you into the high alpine. Gregory, my friend, August 2nd, it is sheep season.
It is open in many thin horn areas as of yesterday. It's go time.
So there'll be some big rams down. Guys will be out. Guys and gals will be out pounding the bush and looking for those giant BC rams. It's a pretty cool time of year.
Yeah, hopefully we get some folks sharing their stories with us, sending them to us for our magazine or social media, or even hell, wanting to come on here and chat about it.
What's our hashtags for people that are posting?
You know what? We've been leaning on the hashtag Wild Sheep Forever and hashtag WSSBC Outside.
Nice.
So
nice.
The Wild Sheep.
And that's everything. It's not just sheep hunting. WSSBC Outside is just being outside, right?
Just being outside. And then if you've got a piece of gear on of ours, even better. Just a hat, shirt, something that says Wild Sheep Society. And if you tag us and we see it, we'll post it.
Okay. And we're also looking for your stories. So for the magazine, we need your content. So there's the 50-word pieces. Send your stuff in. We try and send some swag out to some people. We get to the point now we're having to do a bit of do random draws because we're a little oversubscribed on some of the stuff. But if we use your content for the magazine, so there's a 50-word piece, so we need a picture in 50 words or less, and it could be anything. It could be any species, whatever you want. Obviously, if it's sheep, that's wonderful. And then we like longer stories too. Our criteria there is a good story, well written, and then give us some good quality photos. 2 megabytes or better. And so if you've been out, you've been successful, tell the story. Share your successes with some fellow members or some fellow hunters who would love to share the story. So
where should folks be sending that? Which email?
Thank you. communications@wildsheepsociety.com, and that comes directly to me, and we'll make sure it gets to the right spot. So we love your content. Keep us in mind for sheep season. So
perfect. Yeah, we got a couple of weeks. We've got a big old fishing tournament happening in Chilliwack, BC, right on the Fraser there. Want to tell us about that thing we do every summer?
Yeah, the Jurassic Classic experience, I think, fishing experience. Trevor's forbade me to use the word tournament because that implies a competition. But there are $10,000 in prizes, so it is a bit of a competition. But really, it's one of our cool events. That's how I got brought into the sheep world, was through the Jurassic. Absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite events all year. And just, on this podcast, our guest is going to talk about our wild sheep family, and the Jurassic is a family event. There's 56 anglers that come back every year, and we just have a great time getting after sturgeon, catching some big dinosaurs, and then raising money for wild sheep and putting the money back on the mountain. So pretty cool event.
Yeah, and great support by a lot of people involved, like Great River Fishing Adventures, and Dean Work. He's a stand-up guy and puts everybody on the fish and brings in a bunch of boats and a bunch of help.
Yeah, absolutely, he does. And it's worth mentioning we got 3 of our major supporters that are a big part of the Jurassic Classic day in and day out. And we've got Sitka Gear, our official sponsor, and they're a big part of the Jurassic. They've been right from the get-go. They've actually sent customer service reps up, and Corey Pearsall, back in the day when he was with Sitka Gear, he came up and was at the event, and then Yeti's a big part of it, and Stone Glacier. So those 3 companies, there's a ton of great support and great donors, and I can't just mention them all. There's so many, but those 3 every year going above and beyond with making things happen with the event. So super cool. Great event and just so much fun. And so, we sell teams for the Jurassic. They're really hard to come by, but keep an eye out this fall if you're interested in attending, and you can get in on, in my experience, one of the best events out there. It's just a great time. So.
Yeah, and around the same time, we'll be hosting an online auction that folks will be able to be involved in if you can't make it to Jurassic. So we'll still take your money, and you can get some good swag or whatever comes up for auction. Keep your eye out online.
Right on, buddy. And you're not coming because you always plan some. You're doing like some conservation thing, like you're actually doing something for sheep or some weird thing.
Yeah, I can't figure it out. You guys keep enjoying fishing, and I'm like, you know what? It's for the sheep. I'm going to go out and look at sheep. So we'll be back along the Fraser River, checking on lamb retention on the 19th, just north of Lillooet, and checking on this year's treatment. We just had one a few weeks ago, and we got the first count in June. We got hammered by rain. Like the one weekend it decided it was going to rain, we got rain and fogged in. And this past weekend we got smoke. So we got a few hours of open sight lines, and almost everybody that came out seen 40 plus sheep. So they got their eyes on sheep. We seen a lot of collars, and we seen a good number of lambs too. So we're able to correspond that some of the work is working there. So it's good to see.
Well, Greg, thank you to you for your leadership on that. And I know there's other directors and other volunteers involved. And thank you for the people that show up for these things. It's not, Spence's Bridge is always awesome because it's a quick little drive up to, Spence's Bridge. And this is a mecca. It's a long journey. You guys go a long way, spend a lot of time, money, and effort getting there to do the right thing to look after wild sheep. And this is an important part of what we do. This Fraser River treatment. This is part of it. If we don't have this, then we don't have the data to support what we're doing. It's really important. So thank you for your leadership and everyone that's involved with that.
Yeah, no problem. I enjoy being out there, meeting the people that come and volunteer. And we get to meet some cool people that live along the Fraser, because our first glassing spot for this year is 75K up the gravel. And that's when you hit the first ranch. And, get to meet some of these ranch owners that have spent the last 50 years on the Fraser, living remotely, and there's always a good story to be had and good company.
Awesome. Yeah. All right, buddy. So this is a great podcast. We are joined by Julie Chapman. Julie Chapman's a director with the Wild Sheep Foundation, and she has done so much in the conservation space. She's done so much for advocacy for trying to get new hunters into the hunt space. She operates a not-for-profit that her and her husband created. It's called Graveyard Outdoors. And I think she said on the podcast, 65 kids every year go out and get to experience the outdoors and go to harvest, get out and chance to harvest turkey. And I think she said it's roughly a 50% success rate, which to me is, I just have a hard time even understanding that. I believe her, but it just blows my mind that can happen. But Julie, you guys are going to love this podcast. She's super passionate. She's super driven. I've had the privilege of working with her on the board of directors, and she's got so much enthusiasm and effective too. She does a lot of amazing work, and it's just a real pleasure to sit down and talk with Julie. And you're going to hear that she is a kick-ass hunter, man. She knows how to kill sheep, and she's deadly.
Yeah, well, and we always live by the words of Glenn Landers of do epic shit, and Julie is one of those people who just gets shit done. So you guys will enjoy this listen. It's great.
Well, and you were chapter affiliates, and you've seen her, and I think that first night we were like all sitting around, and there was a bunch of stuff going on, and then Julie stands up. She goes, "Okay, we're going to do a selfie." Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Do you recall that? And
Yeah.
she brings
it was
her phone
on the bus,
out.
wasn't it?
I don't know. I feel like it was in the room, but she's like, and then she quoted Glenn, "We're going to do epic shit," or "We're doing epic shit." And yeah, she lives true to that on and off the mountain, and just great podcast, and really enjoyed chatting with her. And we're going to have her back on. There's just too many stories, and we could have talked for 2-3 hours on this one. And I think people are going to really enjoy this podcast.
Yeah, she's going to quickly become a repeat guest here.
Yeah, for sure. So here we go. Julie Chapman. Enjoy. This episode is sponsored by our conservation partner, Precision Optics. Thank you, Sitka Gear and Precision Optics, for investing in healthy wildlife and sustainable ecosystems.
Let's talk sheep. Who doesn't love talking sheep?
Awesome.
I
We
put a
figured
few.
you'd be good for that.
Put a few in the background for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you got there? What is that behind you?
This one here on the floor is my Idaho sheep, and then the one coming down above me is Wyoming. And then I've got a stone that's sitting over here by me that's going to go up on my little mountain eventually. Tiny little mountain.
You got a mountain behind you? I can't see it
Well,
quite yet.
it's not really a mountain. It's a ledge. But we'll take it here in Indiana.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Cool. So you got some trips planned here coming up, don't you?
Oh, yeah, I do. I'm going to head out Yukon on the 30th, and then we'll get back, and I'll have some time to like regroup, wash clothes, stuff like that. And then we're going to I'm actually coming up to BC. So that'll be fun for a bighorn. And then later on in the year, we're going to go down, hang out with Emilio and the boys down there at La Palmosa. So should be, I didn't draw anything, so kind of had to have these on the books for a while, but who cares, awesome. Right? Yeah.
Yes. So you're going to hunt with, is it you that's hunting with Emilio, or is someone else in the fam, or what's the plan there?
Yeah, that's the problem. In our family, like everybody loves to hunt, and it becomes like a fighting match. We could probably sell tickets like WWE, wrestling type stuff in our house. I think really I'm gonna sheep hunt, and then I told one of the kids, I told the whole family they can come, but I think one of them, Emilio, talked about deer hunting down there, so they'll draw straws.
And
they'll do something.
So we were down there. You were down at the board meeting, weren't you?
No. I was hunting somewhere.
Okay.
So I don't know.
You're not supposed. That's not an excused absence. Oh, actually, it is, isn't it?
I don't know. If it's not,
you don't care.
We need to adjust the bylaws if it's not. Somebody needs to write those in.
Awesome. So your son, it would be mule deer he goes after down there, or what is it? I don't think they have coos or anything, do they?
No, they don't have coos. It's he said it's like a small whitetail. I'm not quite for sure because I knew they're gonna come anyway, and I was trying to just keep it very low key, and I told Emilio if it works out, fine. If it doesn't, they'll just be happy to be down there hanging out, and I'm sure they'll go out and help me glass and stuff like that. So. They've got big plans anyway. So I'm really excited because my son he'll be an incoming junior, and my daughter will be a freshman. So then we've kind of booked for like 25 when he graduates. We're gonna go do a doll sheep hunt together, and then when she graduates, we're gonna do a doll sheep hunt together. That's the plan for now. Things can change because they are kids and their interest seems to change like the wind at times. But, God willing, they'll stay interested. So. Well,
and it's pretty cool that they're interested in now, right? Because a lot of kids never even get there. So
yeah, we've been pretty fortunate.
That's awesome. So where did all this come from, Julie? Like, you grew up in Indiana, and your passion for hunting and the outdoors, where did that stem from?
Really, really, it's 100% my dad. Small Midwest town, like Washington is 12,000. My dad was a young boy who came over from England and worked for everything they had. And I remember him telling me stories. They came to Washington. He was a little boy, and he would caddy at the golf course is still here in town, and it's just a little 9-hole course. And he'd be like, "Yeah, I'd be caddying for like $25 a day." I'm like, $25? And he's like, "Yeah, I'd be caddying, carrying these golf clubs for $25, but all I could pay attention to were the squirrels all over." And he said, then I'd go out, and he had some little gun, I don't know, whatever, and he'd shoot squirrels on the golf course. I'm like, "Dad, I don't know if that's such a good idea." And he's like, "No, they never ran me off. They seemed to like me." So from a young age, he was into hunting, and it's kind of weird because his dad was not a hunter. He actually met people here in Washington that kind of mentored him into hunting, and then from there it kind of took off. He was the only one in his family that was a hunter, and then I'm the youngest of 4. Now my brother would hunt occasionally, but really it fell onto me. I think it's, for me, I've kind of had the passion of, life is short, so I'm going to try something one time, and if I like it, I'm going to just keep pursuing it. And I think hunting in the outdoors, for me, everything from waterfowl to whitetail deer to like my epic adventure is sheep hunting. And so for me, it's that drive of everything. It's always a challenge. It's different, and you've got to like outwit the game, and you've got to work at it. So for me, that's that's kind of how it stuck. And then my husband, we dated forever, and he's a whitetail deer hunter, and then it just kind of took off from there. And we kind of decided early on we wanted to at least expose our kids to the outdoors. And this is kind of what my husband and I do in our community, is to try to expose kids, right? Because we're not necessarily going to turn every kid into an epic sheep hunter. It's just not going to happen for a multitude of factors. But if we can expose our kids the right way to the outdoors, then hopefully they're either one, going to become a hunter, or two, they're going to earn and develop respect for hunters and non-hunters because they understand the value of hunters. And so we want them to respect the outdoors and those that hunt in order to keep that really good balance that we need in our hunting world. So, that's kind of that's kind of been our driving force from day one is, hey, I'll take anybody hunting. I'm gonna be honest, I'd rather take a kid hunting that has no bad habits, right? They have none. And they're just green, and they're like a sponge that soaks everything up. So, yeah, for me and our family, we love to get kids in the outdoors because there's something thrilling about seeing everything is new, right? So they get to experience everything, and it's just, to me, it's probably the most rewarding. It's probably more rewarding than myself, taking an animal is watching a kid take an animal. That's pretty awesome.
So for you, you talk about your hunting and your family's hunting, but it goes well beyond that too. Maybe if you can touch a little bit on the Graveyard Hunt Club and what that's all about and what's involved with that. Yeah,
absolutely. That's a big push for us. It's a very proud organization for us, and it is very small and grassroots type, like one-on-one efforts. My husband and I started that along with my father, funny story, was just getting into duck hunting, and we had this old boat that we were going to redo, for duck hunting, and we started pulling out the flooring, and literally on the boards of the boat it said Graveyard. And we're like, what in the world? What are we? So this boat we named it the Graveyard, and then we kind of started getting kids into the outdoors, and then it just grew from there because it's that one little spark of seeing a kid experience, especially turkey hunting. Here in the Midwest, Indiana, our Game and Fish does an amazing job. We're super lucky because before our adult season comes in, they allow the weekend before for youth only. So really, we just have kids in the outdoors. Parents and mentors are 100% focused on those kids. And turkey hunting here in Indiana, with our Graveyard Outdoors, we're fortunate enough to take probably 60 to 65 kids each year. And we're running about, this year was a little down. It was a tough year, but we run about a 50% success rate, which you think, oh man, 50% is not that good, but it's good when you're talking about brand new kids. You're talking about 5-year-olds. We had a 5-year-old this year, 2 of them, that got their first turkey. It's just crazy. And then we have kids that are 12, and we've got video footage of they shoot 3 times at 20 yards and somehow miss, and they're just sitting there flogging the decoy, and their entire, the guy is filming, they're done filming the bird, they're filming the kid's entire body shaking, just going bonkers. And so for us, it's kind of just to get those kids in the outdoors. I don't know, for me it's pretty rewarding. But that's what we do with Graveyard Outdoors. It's just an opportunity. We don't charge these kids. We try to give them a really good experience, right? So it's everything from, when we're setting up a hunt, Kyle, we have to think about, do they have hearing protection? Are they going to be bored? What's their age level? Are they going to be warm enough? I mean, you have to to take a kid into the outdoors, goodness gracious, if you don't have snacks, you're going to fail right from the get-go. So we have a plethora of little tricks and tips that we give our guides, and our number one tip is obviously take some sort of electronic and take snacks. So anyway, that's what we do, and it's pretty rewarding, actually.
So with the program, is that something that is your baby? Is that something that you were like? Is it a not-for-profit? How does it work? Like, talk about the nuts and bolts a little bit on that, how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a full-blown 501c. We don't make any money at it. We actually, again, my husband and I, and then we're very fortunate to have some really good, young, driven folks in our community that have experienced it, and then they wanted to be involved. And from there, they've ran, and we've went from dove hunts to turkey hunts to women's pheasant hunts. And then one of the things we did locally is we raised money, and we started in 2 of our school systems. We started the Archery in the Schools program. So we gave them the initial money, the setup fee that they needed to get archery in the schools. So anything we can do at a very small level to get kids interested and in the outdoors. It doesn't necessarily have to be hunting, camping and hiking and fishing and archery. All of those things are kind of in our wheelhouse.
So in terms of funding, there's quite a few generous donors out there that are really passionate about this, or is it a lot of the kids themselves giving back once they're sort of have the means to do so, or what sort of some of the funding models that you use? Yeah,
our funding is very, very low key. We have a few local donors like IPNL, which is our power plant. They've got a conservation club that they donate every year faithfully for our turkey hunt. And then from there, it's just local people that give here and there. We do not ask for more than we need. Every penny that we take in, transparency is our key, right? Like with any 501c or not-for-profit, you want to be completely transparent and tell your story and let everybody know where that money's going. So we stay very small, and we let them know that every bit of it goes to those kids. And we give away guns and equipment and clothing and just hunting apparel and gifts. And I think that's probably that might trump the hunting at some point when it's cold outside. I think they like getting the gift bag more than maybe the hunt.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like you guys have cracked the code on that. Is there any hunts in particular or any kids that stand out where, obviously you shared one there, the kid vibrating and, that aspect, but is there anything where it's like, oh my goodness, this is why I do this? Anything stand out particularly?
Oh, good. Oh my goodness. I have personally so many that it goes on, and I love to see it because this was, John, my son, my son is 17, and this was when he was 8, so it was several years ago. And on our little piece of property, we had my son, and we had one of our pastor's boys. He was sitting with my dad, and then we had another young boy on another little piece of property, and so I hear a gunshot, and I'm like, oh goodness, okay, I think it was this, I think it was my son. So I call my husband, and he's like, we got a problem. I'm like, okay, yeah, all right. So he's like, yeah, he got one. He's like, but now he's ready to go. And I'm like, all right, well, take him back to the cabin, and it was just a little Jake. So, but he was tickled. He's 8 years old. He gets his first bird. He's literally strutting around, with his chest all puffed out, dragging this bird everywhere. And here comes the pastor's kid, and he's sitting with my dad, and this Tom snuck up on him. Now, I wasn't in the blind, so my dad, of course, we planned for this, right? You've got the blind set up, and you've got your shooting lane, and here comes this big Tom. And so this kid has never hunted. We took him out the day before, taught him to shoot, and so he was, hitting the target. And so my dad, he calls me and he goes, hey, we got a problem. I'm like, oh no, did he miss? He goes, oh no, we got the bird. And he goes, but I'm gonna have to get you a new blind. So I'm like, what? So the Tom came and he just blew a hole right in the blind. And this kid did not care. I think he walked back instead of waiting on the ranger to come pick him up. He carried the bird all the way back to the cabin. And there's a huge hole blown in the blind. I don't know how that entire story went down, but he blew a hole in the blind. I tell you what, we had Ryan Brock with, he does the youth division of the Wild Sheep. And he brought out a group of kids, and the first year he brought his son and daughter. And they were not prepared for Indiana, early, spring hunts. I think his son had on a pair of Vans, and it was cold and wet. And this kid is shaking in the blind. I couldn't tell if he was excited because all the birds were gobbling or he was just cold. But they sat there, they waited it out, and Dylan actually took a bird and got to watch these two toms come strutting in, and just to see the excitement and when their legs start shaking and they're they're just so excited. Seeing that is I've had that experience several times, so that's pretty rewarding.
Very cool. So Julie, I think I've seen pictures of you with the kids, and there's like we're talking dozens, like 40, 50 kids lined up, if I recall. And you're talking about a 50% harvest rate. You got 50 kids out there and like 20 or 30 of them like killing birds and doing a group photo? Or because to me, like the possibility of doing that is not even in the realm of Yeah, it is. I'm telling you, it is the most stressful. Like, I pray so hard, please don't rain, please don't rain, please don't rain. It is, again, nothing is possible, right, without people that take action. And to have really good Southern Indiana folks that allow us to go on their property, because obviously I don't have enough property to safely, space people out. So we rely on volunteers and property owners, and they willingly let us on. And we go out ahead of time and we set up the blinds, and we have guides from around here that just love and have a passion for the outdoors and love to turkey hunt. And it doesn't seem feasible, but it is. There are times like this year, we had this is in Indiana, you can hunt until you're 18. You have to be actually 17. You can't turn 18, for a youth hunt. And we had a kid that aged out, and he was so excited that he had aged out because he had participated in our dove hunts, our turkey hunts for several years. Well, now he's legit. He can be a guide. And so, he worked for like a month on trying to find places, get permission. He'd call me and he'd ask me, and he'd call me and he'd be so excited. He's like, "Yeah, I got another spot." I'm like, "Okay, well, you just because you have a spot, you gotta go check it out. You gotta scout it and put some time in." And so he did. Well, he took one of the kids that flew in from Nevada this year. He got him a bird, and then he actually guided 2 kids to be successful on birds. So he was our guide of the year at 18 years old this year. So he was pretty excited. But that's what it is, Kyle. It's literally just passionate outdoors men and women that have property or find people with property, and they're willing to give up their time. And most of these people are turkey hunters, right? So they're putting these kids the first weekend. Actually, this weekend, the youth weekend is like on Saturday and Sunday, and then the adult season comes in that following Wednesday. So for a lot of these guides, they're given their spots. And to me, that right there is when you've got somebody special. When they're willing, hey, they've already went to one spot and the kid may have missed, right? And they take them to another spot, and they're their spots that they've been watching and whatever. So for me, we're really fortunate to have just selfless outdoors men and women that just are passionate about taking these kids. That's super cool. Now, in terms of the kids that are attending, is this something where, it's word of mouth and some kid at school maybe has no connection to the outdoors, no family, no nothing, and they reach out and they say, "Hey, I want to go on this hunt." How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. We just do social media blasts on Instagram and Facebook, and we're willing. Again, we'll put them up in a hotel if they're willing to travel here. So, like the Nevada folks come in, we're willing to work with them on a hotel. Everything's paid for except for their travel here, and we've got kids that. It can be scary. We have to have a questionnaire and have you hunted before? Do you have hunter's education? Are you safe with the gun? Some of them want to use a crossbow. So that's a different setup, right? You can't you've got to have a blind, and it's all those little tricks to keep kids safe and happy in the woods. But yeah, we just use social media and it fills up. I think last year, in 1 hour, we had 45 kids signed up, 45 or 47 kids signed up within the hour. And we do get a lot of those first timers, because what happens is we want these kids to wear the shirts, right? The kids love a free t-shirt. So they wear them to school, and then you've got girls and boys. I think last year, right off the bat, the first 5 harvests were girls, and 4 of them were beginners. 4 of them were first-time hunters, and they were girls. So for us, we load them down with prizes and shirts, and they go to school, and then that just sparks the interest in somebody else. We've had several kids that come and they try it one time. It's not for them, and that's okay. That's, again, we're just trying to expose them, and hopefully they can develop some respect for what we do.
Now, are you typically oversubscribed? Do you have X amount of spots and you get more applicants than you have spots, or can you accommodate everyone typically?
We have had to try to cap it at 65.
Okay.
Just because we want to do quality over quantity, and we kind of feel like, 65. Anything over that is just getting above our manpower with guides is our big problem. So yeah, 65 is usually what we stop at, and we're not, again, we don't do this for money, and we're literally just trying to do this out of our pocket and with some volunteers and with some donations. And so for us, small is better right now.
Yeah, awesome. Wow, really inspiring for sure. For sure, Julie. And, I know with you, it doesn't stop there. So you got a ton of passion, and you've done a ton of stuff, and in the business world, in the conservation world. And so let's talk a little bit on the conservation side. So I know you joined the board of directors with the foundation. Now it's been a couple of years, but prior to that, you did your time with Ducks Unlimited, I think National Wild Turkey Federation, RMEF, the list goes on and on and on. So where does it, you obviously, when you're a young woman and got involved with the hunting community and hunting in the hunt space, conservation wasn't, you weren't volunteering at all. And then, so when is that evolution? When does it kick in that you're doing all this extra stuff?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think for me, you kind of, it's kind of like a stair step, right? You get more involved, the more passionate you are about something, and the more involved I became. It's just like Ducks Unlimited. We were it was a small local chapter, and we were very successful. We had a good group of people around us, but you hit a ceiling, right? You could only see so much of your dollars at work. Okay, it's very hard to see, and it's you're gonna duck hunt in the winter, and then you're done. And so then it went from there to turkeys to elk hunting, and with sheep hunting for me, it's 24/7, right? It's constant. It's 365. If you're not sheep hunting, you're training. If you're not training, you're thinking about it. If you're not thinking about it, you're reading about it. Or you're talking about it. You're constantly doing something. And for me, the huge difference was, it's kind of like you graduate, and you're like in a, I'm not going to be disparaging or derogatory towards anybody that's a waterfowl hunter or a mule deer hunter or anything like that, because I enjoy all of that as well. I can just say from my personal experience, for me, the tipping point was when I started looking into sheep hunting. And it was a 6-month deal. I started reading, talking to people, watching YouTube videos after YouTube. I think I've watched probably all of them. But when you talk to sheep hunters love to talk sheep, and they love to help somebody that's going to go sheep hunting. It's absolutely absurd. It's crazy, the camaraderie, and for me, being an ex-athlete where I had all that time in the locker room, and you prepare year round, and you eat and breathe and sleep whatever athletics you're doing. It's the same with sheep hunting, and people want to help you get there. And for me, it makes that fire burn higher and higher and higher, because now you've got, hey, you're going sheep hunting, Kyle? Let's go. Greg, you're doing this? All right, I'm here to help you. What do you need from me? And for me, that camaraderie, that locker room type mentality of we're a team and look what we're doing, kind of just pushed me over the edge. And that's where it became just almost like it's a family. It is, when we talk about the Wild Sheep Foundation being a family, it's literally a family, because I have not met one sheep hunter who has been like, I'm not telling you a thing. I'm not telling you where I went in Idaho. I'm not telling you, oh, what gun do you shoot? What's your setup? No, there's no secrecy at all, is there? We've all been there, right? And we've asked people, okay, how do I pack my bag, right? Because a woman is going to pack a little differently than a man. So who do I reach out to? So I try to find women who's been there before me. So for me, that was kind of my when I realized that difference. To me, sheep hunters are just I put them, sounds bad, but I rank them way up top for me. So
you're in a safe space to say that.
Yeah, that's good.
Nobody's going to give you a hard time here.
Well, I have big old broad shoulders.
I'm curious then, Julie. So we look at you grew up in, obviously in a hunting family, inspired by your dad, like you talked about in your family, but there's a lot of flatland in Indiana, and born and raised there, and then lived your whole life there. So did that, what tweaked it? Obviously you're an overachiever, you're an athlete, and highly successful in that realm. So the sheep hunting maybe, so who was your mentor? I'd like to know who mentored you and who kind of inspired you on the sheep side of things.
Definitely Jim Craig. Jim Craig he has seven FNAWs, and just seeing his epic mountain, and hearing when you walk into his trophy room, and if you point to any given sheep, this is what I love, because for myself as a hunter, when I have a trophy in here, and it may not, when I say a trophy, it's my trophy and it's my experience, right? It's not necessarily, I'm not into the score. If you looked at my sheep on my wall or my deer downstairs, there's a few that I could give you a score. That's not a trophy for me. It's a trophy in essence because it's the experience. Who are you with? What happened on that trip? How memorable was it for you? And Jim Craig, when you walk in, that is one of the very first things I noticed about him is I am like, well, tell me about this one. And he could sit there and tell me a 30-minute story, detailed, like you and I can, right? About our sheep hunts, about every one of those sheep in his room. And to me, man, there's not a lot of people that can really do that. And not one time did he talk score. Not one time. I have a lot of respect for that guy. And we spent hours upon hours on the phone. He gave me books that I just read through and questions, everything from, oh my gosh, stupid stories from, if I'm in a backpack, I cut my toothbrush in half. I'm cutting weight down. I'm weighing everything. He might think I'm a little psychotic now, but that's okay. But he's really, from a sheep aspect, Jim Craig is the epitome to me of an old school sheep hunter, because this guy was sheep hunting without all of the fancy equipment we have. I mean, this guy was going sheep hunting, guys, when you had to write a letter and it took forever to get from little old Bloomfield, Indiana to British Columbia, right? And then he had to wait on the response, and he teamed up with, oh my gosh, Albert Cooper and Reg and Ray Collingwood and all those. I mean, just he actually has the experience of some of those guys that have just paved the way for us. And for that, I mean, the stories are just endless. It's one of those things you could sit and talk to him for hours upon hours, and often we do.
So with that, I guess you getting the hook, and I know you quoted Jack O'Connor in your bio for the Wild Sheep Foundation. You talk about that. So with that hook, when you got hooked, awesome. What was that? Was that Jim that was inspiring it, or was it kind of you that fell into sheep hunting? You're like, what's this all about? And you had your journey, and then started talking to Jim, or did it kind of go the other way? I'm kind of wondering how that circle happened.
This is really stupid how it happened, but we were hunting in Texas as a family, and we go to Texas every year in the fall, like around Thanksgiving. And I had my daughter with me, and we were actually on this one piece of property. It was like 5,300 acres of a high fence, and so we were red sheep hunting for mouflon. And I'm like, wow, these sheep are really, my daughter was going to take one, and I'm like, wow, they're really pretty, they're interesting. And so I got time to kill, so I'm Googling and whatever, and I take a sheep, and we get back, and I'm like, well, that was kind of easy. That's, So I start Googling sheep hunting, and one of the first things, I wish I would have remembered where it was, but it was one of the very first videos I watched. I think it may have been Jim Shockey. I can't remember, but they were talking about sheep hunting is the epitome. This is the upper echelon, right? This is the creme de la creme. This is the place to be. And sheep hunting, and then they went on to say, it's the hardest thing you can do. And I'm like, oh, well, hell, if it's the hardest thing to do, I better look into this. So it's kind of one of those things where I like a challenge. And then I started researching it, and I'm like, well, what is Grand Slam FNAWs? What is that? And started looking into it, and then I was actually at a turkey banquet in February, and I had been researching all this sheep hunting, and no kidding, I'm not kidding you, Jim Craig was like right over there, and somebody says, hey, this is the guy you need to talk to him. And so started the conversation, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going. And he's like, so he said, come up to the house. So I come up to the house, and I introduced myself, and I said, again, because it was just a quick conversation there. And I'm like, yeah, I'm actually going hunting. And he's like, he literally rolled his eyes at me. I said, yeah, I'm gonna get my 4 sheep before the age of 50. That's my goal. And he rolled his eyes at me, and I said, no, I'm serious. And so he's like, oh, really? What are you? I said, no, I'm going desert sheep hunting in 2 weeks. And I said, I'll call you as soon as I tag out. So literally I go to Mexico. I'm in Mexico. I'm on the mountain. And I tag out, and I call him. And I said, hey, Jim, it's Julie. I just tagged out. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, what do you think of that? And he's like, oh, wow, holy cow, that's great, And I said, hey, I'm traveling back tomorrow. I need to call you because I need to go on a Dall sheep hunt. So I'm literally not even back in Indiana, and I'm like, hey, what do I need to do to get a Dall sheep hunt? Can you make this happen? And he is like, his wheels are spinning, and he calls a buddy, and lo and behold, I'm on a Dall sheep hunt that fall. So and from there, it just kind of took off. It went from there to, you know how it is. Like when you get bit, I feel bad for the rest of the family. So they're just along for the journey. But that's how it went. It was kind of, it was a long journey.
That's very cool. So now I remember it was Sheep Week. I don't know if it was this year or last year, but I heard your name called, and you went up and you got a plaque for this thing they call a FNAWs. So talk a little bit about what's involved with that, and was that was that a goal well before a gym thing, or was that kind of like, oh no, I'm going to show Jim that I can do this? Was it sort of a dare? And how did that, was that a personal thing? A goal for you of yours? How does that work?
Oh, absolutely. When you start researching sheep hunting, everybody wants to talk about FNAWs, right? They want to talk about how difficult it is, and so I really researched it well before I talked to Jim, and that's I think that's when Jim tells the story, that's what he says. He's like, listen, I knew she was for real just because he knew who I was from athletics, but then he knew because I had told him my plan. Like, I had researched the more difficult to like the ones that are quote easier, or maybe a higher percentage of getting. So it was all along, that was my plan, is I wanted to see if I could do this. Because, hey, I'm going to be honest. I used to be really athletic and in major good shape and at top of my game at Division I women's basketball, right? So I could go forever and do all kinds of stuff and felt invincible. Well, now I'm 2 kids later, and again, I live in Indiana, so no matter how hard I train, it still sometimes sucks on a mountain. It just kicks your ass up and down. And at the end of the day, when you get back to your camp, or if you make it back to your camp, if you don't, still at the end of the day, you're like, holy crap, guys, that was epic. So the harder it is, it makes you appreciate things. So all along, taking my FNAWs was definitely my goal. And now, after my first one, I remember walking up to Jim and I said, hey, remember when I talked to you that first night in your trophy room and I said, by the age of 50, I'd like to have my FNAWs? And he said, yeah, well, now what are you going to do? And I'm like, well, now what I'd like to do is, by the time I'm 50, I'd like to have 3 or 4. He's like, oh gosh. He's like, we've created a monster. And I'm like, yeah, well, we'll see. So I was on the cusp of, I was actually last year, I was on a trip to hopefully take my second FNAWs with the Doll sheep. And we were actually getting ready to take off in the plane to get into the bush plane, and that's when I got the notification that my mom was ill. Something was not right. So I spent about 3 days sheep hunting, and as you guys know, when you love sheep hunting, you wait all year for this stuff, right? Like you're counting the days down. I'm like kids counting it down before Christmas. Like, how many more sleeps do we have? Oh, I got 10 more sleeps, that kind of stuff. And I got about 3 days in, and I couldn't enjoy myself. I couldn't concentrate, couldn't enjoy it. Everything was miserable just because I was sitting there worried about my mom back home. So, it was a good decision. I left early, didn't take a sheep, wasn't meant to be at all. And then, unfortunately, I did lose my mom this February from those same ailments. But I'm going back here again, like I said, on the 30th, and when I take this one's going to be for my mom, so I'm pretty sure she's going to send me something special. So we'll see.
Oh, okay. I got to breathe for a second here.
Yeah, I understand.
That's phenomenal. So this one is going to mean something. So is this your second FNAWs sheep? Is that the case, or
this one will? God willing, will complete my second, and then we'll just adventure down the trail and see whatever. We'll see what else happens, right? My husband did ask me. He said, I don't understand. You have one. What are you doing? And I'm like, well, why stop at one? I mean, right? It's not about the count. It's about the adventure. And so, he's kind of tired of hearing that sometimes.
So I'm curious now, and it's interesting. There's all these different records and achievements out there, and there's we've seen at Sheep Week this past year, the youngest female ever to accomplish her FNAWs, and all these amazing achievements. I'd be curious to know how many women have taken multiple FNAWs. Obviously, there's been a few, but there can't be a bunch of lady hunters that have done that.
Multiple, I'm not for sure, honestly. I'm sure somewhere in some of the record books, somebody's got that. I'm going to be honest, I've not looked at that. I tend to just focus on what drives me. I'm sure there's too many really good female hunters out. Well, you know what? I think Maddie Damaski she's got multiple. She has to have multiple.
I would think so. I was thinking Maddie's one, Anna Voracek. There's a few out there that probably
Anna
do,
for sure.
right?
Yeah, definitely Anna, definitely Maddie. I'm sure there's some other ones. But hopefully Julie Chapman will be on there too. So.
I'd say the odds are pretty good.
I'll be in some really good company anyway. So put this little old Hoosier next to some of these really good hunters. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool. So, we talked a little bit about the kids. We've talked a little bit about, you and your hunting career, if you will. Let's talk a little bit. Where did the conservation piece come in? And you've got this history of having worked with multiple organizations. You're really involved with the foundation. We're so fortunate to have you on our board. Where did that come from? Was that something from your dad, or is that just something as a natural evolution as a hunter that you're like, oh, I need to do more?
Yeah, I think I honestly, my dad was just involved on a very, very minute level. I think for me, it's kind of anything, right? Like anything that is worth doing requires action. And I get fed up with people who talk about stuff. Like, I'm not a very patient person. Everybody knows that knows me. I tend to be pretty hardcore. I like to go at things 100%. And if I'm not going to give 100%, then why do it? I mean, really, why do it if you're not going to give 100%? It's kind of a waste of time. I'll go do something else that I would give 100% at. And so with that, I find that anything that we do in life, we can read about it, we can talk about it, but it requires putting one foot in front of the other. So for me, conservation, if I have a passion about hunting and I want to continue to do this and you want to continue to do this and I want my kids to be able to continue to do this, and I don't want my sheep one day ending up in a Cracker Barrel, right? I want my kids to be proud and keep them when I'm dead and gone. Then we've got to do something. We actually have to put one foot in front of the other and take action, and that is within conservation. We have to, we're not just hunters, but we have an obligation to fight for those rights and fight for those animals that we respect and we love so much that we're willing to, my gosh, give our bodies, put them through hell, right? Go climb a mountain and just be sore as everything and miserable at times, but we love it. It's because we love them. So for me, that's how that conservation piece is. It's more of a personal driven thing that I feel like we have an obligation to make an effort and do something. And it's not a money thing, right? It doesn't always have to be a money thing. There's so many people that contribute. My gosh, just look at our volunteer base at the Wild Sheep Foundation, right? I mean, there's a ton of people that make their way to Reno every year. I met some really good folks that were just helping set up the shop. She's like, yeah, we work in the store every year. And I'm like, holy cow. And it's like their 4th or 5th year. I'm like, wow, thank you so much, because that's a huge piece. That's something like it's like anything else, right? The smallest thing is a huge thing. And so for me, the conservation piece comes pretty natural. I feel like it should be expected. If we're going to be a hunter, we should also take an effort and take some action. So.
Yeah, well, and you look at our board of directors, and we don't have to single out the foundation. You can pick any not-for-profit, but the amount of time and effort that goes into it. But then, it's not even the board. You look at like a guy like Corey Jarris, who is the move in, move out crew at Sheep Week. Someone like that, or Larry Johns and Larry and Gay, right? The amount of time.
Yeah.
Hey, I feel bad singling two people out, but they come to the front of mind because of all they do. They've taken this massive, which should be a paid role, really, like in principle, but they're there for literally a week, just giving everything selflessly, right? And it's incredible the amount of effort that goes into. And it's not, the foundation's an amazing organization, but you don't have to draw the line there. You can just keep going on and on and on, right?
No, and that's what makes the Wild Sheep Foundation, like we talked about earlier, like a family, and that camaraderie. Like, you surround yourself with good folks like that, good things are going to happen, and we're seeing that from all of the efforts. From, my gosh, look what you guys are doing in BC. I mean, just record numbers, really good things happening. Idaho, like other chapter and affiliates, they're killing it. And it's because they take one good person, and there's two good people, and three and four, and you surround yourself with those kind of people, and some really positive things are happening. I'm excited. I'm really excited for the future. I know we have leaps and bounds and lots of things to do from the conservation piece, right? Because we're always going to fight anti-hunting and stuff like that. But I feel like, man, we've got some epic biologists on our side. We've got legislators on our side. We've got hunters that are just willing to take those steps and the actions that we need. So yeah, we're pretty blessed.
Yeah, well said, Julie. So I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot here, but not too badly. But so you've been on the board now for a couple of years, and you're a big part of everything that's going on. But is there something for you that kind of stands out as sort of, I really want to make a difference in this realm? And, I know that you got a big role coming up here. You're going to take over the Life Member Breakfast, coming off of a superstore of a leader that's running that right now. So you got big boots to fill, to say the least, but you got a great committee behind you. So, but that said, is there something for you that you're like, okay, I really, really want to put my finger on this, or my stamp on this?
Yeah, I really don't have one thing specifically that I really want to say that I personally want to, leave my mark on, other than everything that we're doing, right? Like, yes, the Life Member Breakfast for me is very important, and you're right. Talk about setting myself up for failure, jumping on that one right there and following that. but again, that's what you want, right? So if I'm going to do something, I want to raise that bar. So no matter what it is, somehow I got to figure out a way. I like the competition. You know that. I'm a competitive person, so I'm always like, oh, what can we do a little differently? So there's a lot of different things that I'd like to see us do well. I really, for me, and as a board of director, what I'm really excited about is all of the work that everybody is doing and all of this fundraising. And now we've got something as simple. We're telling our story, right? I want to see that map. I want to see that map of how much money we're putting into each state, or British Columbia, or the Yukon. I want to see where that money is going, because if I can see it and I can justify, wow, man, kudos, you guys are killing it, then other people can see it. And for me, that's the exciting part. I left chapter and affiliate, the summit, just fired up. I mean, absolutely fired up. And it was just simply from a picture. You don't even need to, no one even needs to talk about it. When that picture is up on the screen, I know it's been all over social media, but for me, seeing what everybody's doing, not just one person, but seeing what all of us are doing collectively is pretty exciting for sheep and the future of sheep.
Yeah, well said. What was the number? What have we invested in wild sheep since the infancy of that organization? Do you remember the number?
You cut out. What'd you say?
Just wondering if you can recall what that number was for wild sheep that we've invested. So there was that graphic that the foundation had put up. Do you remember? What was the number? Do you remember?
You're going to tell me specifically. You go ahead.
No, I don't remember. I know it was the 90s, but
it was like 90,
it's a big
93?
Number.
93?
Oh, there we go, Mr. Redsman.
91. That's close. Close.
Yeah. That's a big chunk of change.
Yeah. That's
big
awesome.
Chunk of change. Yeah. Pretty inspiring.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's just touch on, before we let you go, I want to touch on what's the most, you've done a ton of hunting. You're working on your second FNAWs now. So there has to be something that stands out. And now every time we talk, you're like, hey, my son's doing this. My daughter wants to do this. We're doing this. We're going there. And your family is such an important part of what you do. And you've seen all these kids, you've mentored all these kids and all these young women. You've been involved with all these hunts. Is there one that stands out for you?
Me personally,
Easy, right?
or
Easy.
yeah, right. Stands out with me personally or with my kids because I've had some. I mean, like
Yeah,
I can. I mean, I'll tell you a couple. I can tell you a couple. So, one is my son. First year I put him in for all of the draws. He was 12, and he actually got drawn for Idaho. Okay, and this poor kid is a baseball player, and he had subsequently taken a fastball to his left knee. You know, because he's a righty, and so I always tell him, don't you jump out of the box. Don't you be a big baby. You stay in there and you take it like a man. And he's like 11 years old. But, you know, I'm always the hard mom that's like, you stay in there. Don't jump out. So he did. He stood there and took a fastball right to the leg. Subsequently, like the percentages of this happening are like, it's like winning a lottery ticket. It was like 0.00000001. He damaged his perineal nerve in his leg, which means we didn't know it. Because it's like a water hose, right? Like it got kinked by swelling and nothing could get through. So therefore, he had full-blown foot drop at the age of 12. We had no clue, and we were going through all of these. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's got a sheep tag, and he's going to Idaho, and he's got foot drop. How are you going to climb 10,000 feet? So this kid, this kid at 12 years old was unbelievably. Kids are just resilient. They're way stronger than we are. We're soft sometimes. We strapped those boots on, and I just remember trying to tape his foot like in the, position, and he put those boots on and he climbed to 10,000 feet. And if you can imagine how you have to like throw your leg out because your foot doesn't bend, right? So he would have to like throw his leg out, this hip, and he just trucked along, and oh my gosh, I remember we were sneaking up to get close to this sheep to take a shot, and the guides, and so I'm like, we're telling them, shh, we're doing everything we can. We're like trying to like watch, step where we step, all of those things. And the guide's son, who is just like, you're gonna hear his name, but he's Jared Craney. He's going to be a heck of a guide one day. Anyway, he rolls a boulder that I swear to gosh was the size of a Volkswagen. And it's like, it just starts rolling, and it's one of those stinking rocks that rolls and rolls and rolls forever. And the entire you could hear it just boom, 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 boom. Oh, and I thought, oh no, we just climbed all day. And we're literally 10 yards from just getting in the prone position to like lay down. I just knew they were all going to be gone. And we like sneak over there, and I remember thinking, oh my God, thank you so much for having those sheep still there. Anyway, this kid shoots this sheep, we celebrate, and I just remember getting back, like we got off that trailhead, he was utterly exhausted. I mean, I know my effort, I was exhausted, but this kid had that, just to climb that way and have to exert that extra energy was beyond incredible in my book. Anyway, we got back that night, and here comes Jim and Leanne Craig. They drove all the way to Idaho to help this kid celebrate, and that, to me, was just the beginning of something beautiful for Idaho, and that's subsequently why then I decided to go all in and get that tag for myself for the following year, because it was so special for him to take a sheep there. I wanted to take one in the same state, and then it was cool because then I come back on the trailhead and there's my dad and Jim and Leanne Craig waiting for me to jump off my horse and to be able to celebrate with them. For me, those kind of memories, like my sheep hunts or my hunts that have been memorable, it's who you've shared them with, right? It's the camps that you've been in. It's the hardships. It's the making fun of one another. I remember it was 2 a.m. by the time when I shot my sheep in Idaho, by the time we loaded the sheep on the back and we're all packed up, and Jordan Budd was filming, and I don't know what the hell we did, but I was exhausted, thirsty, and exhausted again. And it was like 4:30 in the morning, and we come to this spot, and our little headlamps were shit. They were horrible. Excuse me. And all of a sudden, I don't know, but I just hit something, and it was like a water slide. You could just hear me going thump, thump, thump. It's 4:30 in the morning, and we're all dying, cracking up. She's got it on video somewhere, and I'm begging her, please lose that video. So for me, that was probably to see my son take that sheep in such just the hardship that he had to overcome to get it, and to just get there was pretty epic. And then being able to then the following year go there and kind of share and have my dad there to see that. My dad's actually going this year with me up to British Columbia, so we're going to kind of road trip it up there, and he's been walking every day and trying to get in shape. And I keep telling him, now, Dad, you're not actually going on the sheep hunt with me. You're gonna, you get to hang out in a cabin or something. So, but he's working his way into shape, and he's going to go there, and hopefully I'll come back with something. So
very cool. So with your BC hunt, you're coming up here chasing stones, correct? Is that the plan this year?
No, it's a bighorn. It's a bighorn.
It's a bighorn.
Okay. Yep. So we're going to be over there, close to the Alberta border there.
Are you able to tell us who you're hunting with, just to share the story, or are you keeping it on the down low?
I don't know if I should yet. I think I'll wait on that one. I'll wait.
Good.
Yeah. I'll tell you later.
So your dad's coming, and then are there any of the kids coming, or are you coming just the two of you guys?
No, not on that one. They've got school and football and other extracurricular activities. So just Dad and I. We'll make my husband stay home.
Awesome. Put him to work, eh?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Awesome. Greg, anything for Julie before we let her get back to her family here on a Thursday night?
No, it's been great listening, just sitting back and enjoying the conversation.
I get to be a little windy sometimes, huh, Greg? I get to talking.
I'm not going to say that.
We could have we could have some really good conversations at the Round Bar. That's where you should do a podcast this next year.
Okay, let's do it. We're in. So, and 2 drink minimum to get started, but we'll have to do some heavy editing.
That's right.
Yeah.
I like
noise
that.
in the background.
At the Round Bar in Reno. Yeah.
It's on.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I think we might need to do a couple of these. We're going to have you back for sure, without question. But I was thinking, I think it'd be pretty cool to have you and Jim on together. I think that'd be a pretty cool podcast.
Oh, I would absolutely love that. Jim Craig, and I would have nothing to add. Jim is just a wealth of information. I love it. Just the stories. Again, my gosh, those guys paved the way for us. We've got it so easy. It's unbelievable. This is stuff they went through, and their gear. I remember he still has, he's got a little 270, and he went on he actually, I think it was British Columbia. He was on a stone hunt, and he showed up, and the dang airline, the gun was broke. The stock was broke. He has duct tape on it. Literally. He's got duct tape. I mean, he's got so many stories, it's unbelievable. It's crazy.
Yeah, it sounds like we have another one in the works here. So
there you go.
Julie, I want to thank you for taking the time today. And I have to say, you're an inspiration. You were an inspiration for me before you joined the board. And working beside you with the conservation stuff, it's inspiring to be working beside you. And I love your enthusiasm. You're like, let's get after this. You're always fired up, and you're one of my favorite directors for that very reason. You're just like, let's get this done. Let's get after it. So love it. Appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate everything you guys are doing, man. You guys are killing it up there. Killing it.
Okay, so we're gonna need to do this again, and you're gonna come up to BC, and you're gonna get your bighorn, and then we'll circle back this fall after your hunts, and we'll see where we're at, and you can tell us some more stories.
I love it. I hope I have some good ones.
Oh, you will.
Beautiful.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Julie.
Appreciate you.